Welcome back to another episode of Hyperight Data Talks. Today with us we have Mattias Aspelund, Generative AI Architect, Director at Accenture Nordics, and Julia Falk, Generative AI Data Engineer at Accenture. Guys, welcome here, and I'm super excited about this talk. Maybe we can start a little bit with you introducing yourself and the projects or areas you're currently handling in Accenture, particularly when it comes to generative AI and RAG.
Yeah, sure. Awesome to be here. So if I look at myself, I see myself as a person with a deep technology background, but also in the intersection of AI and experience. I think I have now something like 24 years in the industry, and it's been a couple of iterations with like the internet and then mobile first. But this Gen AI iteration, it's the most exciting of them all. And in my daily life, I would say that I've been working professionally now with clients since May on Gen AI, and before that, of course, we worked a lot with the different POCs and stuff like that. But it's been a real quick shift for our clients. So in the last year, in the last 12 months, I worked a lot with RAG, especially for the sort of, we call it no regrets, like help desk, customer service and stuff like that, where our clients really can build both assets and knowledge that prepare them for a future with much, much more Gen AI. So that's sort of why I'm here today, I guess.
Cool. Yeah, and I actually have a background from socio-technical systems engineering, and I started off as a front-end developer, building the UI of the application, and always had an interest in UX and UI. But then 1 year ago, I transferred more to the data part and then converting to a GenAI data engineer, where I am responsible for all the data for our application that is using RAG. So I'm working much on quality assurance of the data, making sure we have the correct data, ensuring the quality of the data and things like that. And it's a super interesting field because the data is so important for the RAG. It's like what you put into the model is also impacting what you get out of it. And it's so important that you then have high quality data. So it's a very cool and very not what I thought I would work with 2 years or 3 years back. But I've studied like everything from UX, UI, data pipelines, databases, building like, I had one course in large data for scientific applications, and I said I will never work on data again, like never.
And here you are.
And here I am, and it's
working
so fun.
With data every day.
And it's super exciting to work with it. And it's as you said, there's so much things happening the last years, and it's so cool to be in the forefront of this and building this.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and for me, one of the things that is really amazing, we looked at one of the things that you're working on now. We're working with service now, where it's one of those applications where clients have their ticketing systems, etc. And one of the tasks that would have taken a long time with traditional data and AI to sort of cluster and tag documents and stuff like that. And now you had done a POC in like 2 weeks, and just adding it into service now, it actually solved the same kind of problem that would have taken like 3-4 months for a team to do just 1 year ago. So it's a very exciting time to work with this.
Accenture recent 3 billion investment in AI is a significant move. So congratulations on that, first of all. Can you provide a little bit more details on how Accenture is deploying this investment to advance AI technologies and services, and what does this mean to your clients?
Yeah, so of course $3 billion. It's an enormous amount of money. It's almost incomprehensible. So when we talked about all the different things that happens in Gen AI with Accenture, you can see it everywhere. First of all, of course, we're a large company. Accenture has 750,000 employees worldwide. So one of the big things is to upskill and reskill people. But not only that, of course, so it's upskilling, reskilling, hiring new people, but also doing lots of acquisitions. And I think that we are aiming for 80,000 GenAI experts in the company before 2024 has ended.
Yeah, and that's actually doubling the number of experts today, because now it's 40,000. So it's like...
Yeah, and it's happening very, very fast. Then there are of course, lots of these. Accenture always collaborates with all the big companies like Adobe, SAP, etc. So a lot of the money goes into working together with those big giants in applying Gen AI in ways that are really, really good for our clients, of course. Another way that we can see it is also in investments in different startups. So I think we are. I don't want to say any names of the companies because I might get it wrong, but we are investing in lots of the companies that are now growing and becoming sort of these competitors to classical companies like Google or even Microsoft.
Data and AI born companies, right?
Yeah, exactly. And of course, I think that the last thing that I saw was last week we made an acquisition, which was a learning company that was using Gen AI in the learning thing. So as a part of making it easier for us to upskill, but also to bring that to our clients. So we see it everywhere. Then, I mean, $3 billion, it will take a bit of time to actually tell you more about that. But one thing that, from my perspective, has been the biggest one is we're starting Gen AI studios across the world with different specializations. So for example, we have a Gen AI studio specialized in cybercrime, one in retail, one in industry, etc.
It's like an innovation lab, or
yeah, it's innovation labs where most of the people, or at least part of the people, are PhDs with the right background, and then combined with people with the domain knowledge. So for me, when I'm working with our Nordics clients, I reach out on a weekly basis to different SMEs across the globe who has done or are doing similar things with clients and doing proper research on the area, so that we know that when we go to our clients, we're not just basing our hypothesis around how to use Gen AI on a Twitter feed or something like that, but we really know this is something that we're doing at another place or something, and this is the sort of our best guess of a best practice, so we can bring value quickly to our clients.
Right.
Yeah, and also with the GenAI studio, it's also a great opportunity to bring clients to try things out directly in the studio, because it's also a way for us to invite clients, show the current use cases, what we're doing, enable them to ideate on new ideas and try them out directly. So it's like a benefit both for us internally, but also for our clients.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like when we were working with our client, we're not going to name names, of course. Being Accenture, we're also always a bit secretive about who we're working with. But there we're actually looking into like, okay, it's moving so fast. What will it mean for our clients? Let's say a retail client in 3 years, right? So we know that their business will change a lot. And then for us, it's important to then make sure that we help them and collaborate with them so that they are building the right assets, the right competence, but also choosing stuff that are sort of good from a business perspective, both in the short and the long term. So I think it's super exciting, and it's also very fun to be able to sort of try to look into the future and think about, okay, this is what we're seeing now. What will that mean in 3 years? Will we have synthetic influencers that are as important as the brand itself and stuff like that? And how do we take our clients to that position?
I think it's already starting, especially with the synthetic influencers.
Yeah, that's a crazy one.
Many companies today are already focusing on AI, and particularly in generative AI, to transform their operations. But many also struggle with extracting value from it. From your perspective, how organizations more effectively can realize the benefits of AI innovation?
One thing that we actually see here is that we're a bit, it's a bit strange. The Nordics has usually been sort of in the forefront of new
Technologies, yes. Adaptation, at least.
Yeah, exactly. But with Gen AI, we're a bit slow, actually. So if you compare our clients to the clients that we have like down in Western Europe or in UK or in the US, and of course in Asia, we're a bit behind. So we're struggling a bit more. And I think that it's because of the responsible AI part that people are a little bit scared that this will have a big impact on jobs and stuff like that, and that we will lose control. So I think that we're a bit cautious in the Nordics, and we should be. But it's also something that I think it's important for our clients to really work on those things and get stuff into production, so we don't sort of lag behind the competitors from other countries.
Yeah, and I also think it's about like understanding what you can do with generative AI, and like wherever you have a process or data, there is an opportunity for building a solution utilizing generative AI, and start small, like with a POC, proof of concept, and then scale it and iterate it so you can extract the value. But like as Mattias said, it's also like a blocker is responsible, or not a blocker because it's a super important part of it, but we need to understand how we can then define and use generative AI in a responsible way so we can actually utilize the value.
Yeah.
We will delve into that a little bit more in detail shortly, but most of the large language models present unique challenges, especially when it comes to accuracy of outputs. So what strategies do you see or do you recommend for organizations to improve their accuracy and mitigate these or such challenges?
I mean, when we're talking at the Data and AI Summit, our talk is all about RAG, right? RAG for almost everything, and more than just the bot.
More than just a chat.
Yeah, more than just a chat. And from what we're seeing, the best practice in getting an accurate LLM is to utilize RAG. So basically, RAG, I guess that people who listen to this knows what RAG is, but basically it's like you have the few-shot learning, right? That is the thing with LLMs. You can put in a few examples, a few good examples of how it should think, and then the LLM has a generic intelligence that is good enough to sort of extrapolate out of these few shots and get a good answer. And with RAG, that means that we can, from a huge set of data, we can find the best examples that helps the Gen AI to come up with the best answer that is factual. And how many documents are we working with in our current project, Julia?
Right now it's 1,285 documents.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think also as Mattias said, RAG is the ultimate way to go to ensure accuracy and get it more accurate. And also it's a way more efficient way than using the traditional machine learning models. For example, I was working on or we were discussing a way to get incident tag with the correct solution group, you can say, who should handle that ticket. And when if we would use a traditional machine learning algorithm, which is built in the system, it would take maybe 4 or 5 months to get it up and running, like with 100% accuracy, or not even 100% accuracy, because it will not be accurate. But it needs to train on these tickets before it knows how to tag the different tickets. But if we instead would use RAG, take these incidents, check, okay, which solution group is supposed to handle this incident, and put that in to the LLM model as the data. Then we can have, okay, we have a new incident, we send in the same data, and then it tags with the correct solution group. So it's a very efficient way to get the correct answer instead of using this traditional machine learning algorithm. And it's more accurate because it, as you said, can leverage this few shot learning. So learning from few examples and then get the right output.
Yeah, and another thing about that with the few shot learning and the RAG is that we see that when we have tested it, and if you compare, for example, GPT-4 or Claude 3 Opus or even Claude 3 Haiku, and how well it understands RAG and getting a context of documents and being factual based on that, it's super efficient at that. So if you compare to GPT 3.5 or the open source models, most of them, I think that it's only Command R from Cohere that is really good at being extremely factual based on the RAG, at least to our experience. And so you cannot put in 10 documents and it will actually understand how it can use it to be really factual. The hardest part for us now has been when we're seeing examples of the LLM being trained on data that was factual before, right? So during the training of the LLM, you have the cutoff date. So say that something actually was correct 2 years ago, but isn't correct anymore. And you have the documents that says what is correct now, but then you have the stuff in the LLM that's sort of is incorrect. That one is a really tough one because not because it's hard to instruct it, because if you can identify it, it's easy to instruct it so that it uses the correct data. But it's very hard for us humans to identify that kind of false facts, right? And that's the thing. In order for us to be good at instructing the LLM to use the context in a good way, to get the domain knowledge into the RAG, we need to understand where it's not following the facts.
Right.
Yeah, and that also boils down to the data quality that you're putting into the RAG. Like you need to be sure, what data do I have here? Is it the data that I have put in that is the wrong data? Or is it the LLM?
Yeah.
And where does this hallucination, or is it even a hallucination?
Yeah.
And that has been like one of the most challenging part in our project where we're working, because the data quality was so bad. It was,
in some cases.
No, in many cases I would say that it was kind of, that's why we have selected like a smaller amount of data to work with as a starting point to make sure that we know what we have here and that is of good quality.
Yeah.
Because if you put bad quality data into the system, then you will get bad output. So it's very, very important to, as you said, domain knowledge, understanding the data you have and what you will get out.
But it is still a big difference from before, right? That's because before you had to have perfect data or it will be like shit in, shit out, you say. Now the data quality can be bit worse than it used to what it used to be. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It's especially when you go for the GPT-4 or equivalent models, they can handle a bit bad data. But of course, it's much easier to make it factual with correct data.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Mattias. It's not as you had before when you needed to have like the perfect data and it didn't keep track of the context and couldn't like find, okay, what we're talking about before.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, I asked this question, I get an answer. But I think we're not talking about data quality as like it's structured or it's like super clear, but it needs to follow, or you need to be aware of it and be aware how you should phrase your prompt based on the data as well.
Yeah.
That's super interesting, but also something struck my mind. Before starting this interview, you were talking about that RAG can be used for many other applications than just basically what we are doing right now with LLM. And I think that is super interesting. So can you elaborate a little bit more about that? Julia, you or?
You mean except the chatbot? That is because chatbot is of course the most like common or the first use case you do, because every company has this like support where you have a lot of money invested, like people call in, they need help, they need assistance. And before with the traditional chatbot, it was not very good. It was very frustrating to have this pop-up chatbot that couldn't reply on your questions. But if we want to elaborate a bit more outside of chatbot, we can also think about, for example, translations and copy. So we have a proof of concept happening as well there, where you have translations and product descriptions in different languages, and you have different tonality in different languages. So for example, you write in one way in English and another tonality in Swedish. And usually you have these like translation guidelines. How should it be translated in Swedish and how should it be in English? But now we can send or take this data into the RAG and then get the same or...
Yeah, so you basically have like, what happens if you have a translation, if you have a text that you want to translate, what happens if you just show the LLM 20 similar examples and say that please use this to pick up the tonality and how they're phrasing different things. I mean, if a company has 30,000 products or something, then they probably have 20 products that are fairly similar. Then it's very easy for the better LLMs to pick up on that language. But I think that the example that you gave before,
on the incidents and
just adding LLM to that data pipeline.
Yeah, it is also another way of using RAG, like having the incidents and then what should be the correct solution group, and then just compare the question that you get in the incident with the data and the solution group there.
Yeah,
that is also like a way to utilize RAG.
Yeah, because what you're basically doing is that you're getting every time you use the LLM, you get the answer and then also a sort of an explanation. Why did I score it like I scored it or something? If you have a quality score, then, for example, or if you have tagging. So you ask the LLM to output the scoring, but also a description of how it reasoned, and then you look at it manually, but at least some of them.
Yeah.
But then as time goes by, you will get more and more incidents that you have done the quality check on. And then you can put that into RAG. So the next time you find something, you will see, here you have 5 examples, and this was how you reasoned then, and those has been okayed by a human. Please use this when you reason about this thing. So I think that's a good example as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't need to be with text and language. It can also be completely different things. Like one of the things that we're looking into quite a lot is in fraud detection. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing there is that in fraud, they really know, and we have worked a lot with AI over the years, right? It's a good way to see, okay, now this is a card fraud or something like that. But then you also have needed a huge amount of data to understand when a pattern is there, sort of. So you can only work with existing patterns. But now what we can do is sort of give also with RAG, you can give them here we have time series with patterns that are very similar, or very similar, but that are the most similar. And here is how we reason around these patterns. And then given that the LLM has a broader intelligence, it can actually identify new patterns super fast. So I think that's a really cool thing.
Super exciting. Talking about LLMs, another big challenge for many organizations is scalability. Moving from POC to productionalization of the models. What do you think are the main barriers to this transition, and what strategies would company have to adopt to overcome them?
So from Accenture, I think that is where we really shine, right? We of course we understand GenAI, but we're really good at taking stuff into production and making it scalable. So it's a huge learning process. All companies now have engineers and data scientists sitting with their different GenAI solutions and experimenting, right? Everyone are doing POCs. And it's very easy to do a POC. But the hard thing is to get it into production, because when you do that, you need to talk to legal. You need to think about the ethics, the HR is involved. Even the union are involved, right, in different phases. Sorry. So what we have seen is that it's a huge learning curve for all of these people. Like the first thing, I've done it so many times over the last 8 months, talking to, let's say that you talk to legal, for example. Then you need to explain that, well, we're actually not training ChatGPT. It's ChatGPT is one thing. And this is how it works when you have it on your Azure tenant or something like that, right? So we really need to go down very, very deep on a very simple level and grow their skill sets in what it actually is that we're doing. Like, we're not training data, there is no data leakage, etc. We're just exposing your data to the LLM, and it's a frozen model, all of that. So you need to do that over and over. So basically our approach to that has been that we have a framework that we're following, right? We have one framework. It's called the Responsible AI in the Box. Yeah, and it might not be the most creative name, but it's really good.
It's a very descriptive name, though.
It's a very descriptive name, and basically in our projects we start really early. So already during the POCs, we try to involve people from the different departments that have an opinion about how to use GenAI. And then we sort of create the POCs and the solutions together with them so that we're not just making them a checkpoint. You're not just going to check off legal. You're going to work with legal so that you're building something that everyone is happy about.
Right.
That way you get something that really fulfills. But then the other thing that I think it's also super important is that when you have done that, we were also building together with them based on our existing knowledge and from our responsible AI in the box. We're building a framework for how to classify new features. Because, I mean, when you go live, it's going to be a pilot most of the time.
Right.
And then you continue to work on it. And then you need to have something like, okay, how do we handle new features, new things, new like when you're adding that feature into ServiceNow or something, then Julia.
Yeah.
Then we need to understand, okay, who should be involved here to do a new thing. So maybe it's something that has an impact for responsible AI, or it is something for legal, etc. So then we build a framework together with them so that when we do our releases, we actually look at that. Okay, is this something that has a high risk or a low risk? Can we just release it, or should we involve different people? So I think it's something that work with them directly and really build these cross-functional teams.
Yeah, and I just wanted to I was just waiting for the cross-functional team to come up, because I think that is also one really important how to successfully scale from POC to production, that you have people responsible for different areas of the solution. Like we have full stack developer, GenAI data engineer, that's me. We have testers, we have people responsible for legal and ethicals. But you need to have this cross-functional team with different expertise in the different fields to ensure that it's successful.
And user experience.
Yeah, user experience. But to ensure that you can go to production, because you can work on these like small features, building the POC, but then when you're scaling it to production, there's like so much more things that you need to take care of and handle. So it's not just having this simple app that can answer your question or categorize or fix the translations. You need to have the full flow.
Yeah, and I mean, I talked to lead engineer for a global company. Lead architect, and he said that it was the first time he actually sat with legal in a meeting in his whole career, right? Yeah. And that hasn't happened before, and now it has to happen, especially after the EU regulation and everything, right? And it will have so big impact on all of us. So it's not strange.
Touching more about on the topic actually, so how much focus should companies actually place on the areas of ethics, responsible AI, data quality, governance, change management to ensure all of those to ensure long-term success with AI initiatives? I think it's a pretty loaded question, but if we can take some of them at least, how much emphasis should company put on that? Because there is also argument, for example, that if you focus too much on the legal part, you will probably not even innovate at all. Right?
I don't agree with that at all.
Perfect.
I mean, if you're working with legal, everyone are super excited. Legal wants to get this stuff out there. So it's not like legal want to stop anything. It's just that you need to work with legal, and I think that you should put a huge emphasis on it, and especially the ethics part, because stuff can go so wrong with AI and with GenAI especially. Yeah,
and I can just agree on like what you elaborated on before. That, I mean, we need to have these discussions early on, because you cannot start building something and then halfway realize, okay, we're not compliant or we're not thinking about ethics. I mean, that is like the starting point that you need to start. Can we even release this? What do we need to take into account when we're doing this? And also think about the client, like what is the clients like set ground, like what can they do, what can they release? I mean, we have clients across different industries, and of course the legal requirements will differ there, and that you need to start with, like, okay, how do we build this responsible? How do we take into consideration the different clients' legal perspectives and so on? So I think that should be like the ground. What can we work with here?
Yeah. And it's actually a lot of fun as well, right? It's super fun to get perspectives that you haven't ever seen before. I mean, before it used to be that people who sold data and AI, they talk to other people in data and AI. And people selling experience talk to people like the CIO, CMO, etc. And now it's business from all over that are interested and want to invest in this and build new features. So working with all these different parts like ethics, legal, responsible, and security. I mean, it's a whole new field for security as well.
Right.
And it's a super exciting field. So we have, in our team, we have had Christer from Centaur, an acquisition that Accenture did a couple of years ago. I think they're leading in IT security and cybersecurity in the Nordics. And Christer, with 20 years of pen testing background, he has led a pen testing team for 20 years. And now, since a year or so, he has been specializing in LLM security. And I mean, that is exciting. Getting all of his knowledge and seeing him like just hack away on the terminal.
And that's also one important part in the cross-functional team, to have someone working on this part. Because I mean, it's a very big risk if you release this kind of application to production, and not like internal but external, that you get like real damage, and that we don't want to do, especially when we work with new technology. Those kind of like effects could have be really harmful for the company. So you need to really consider also the security perspective as well. So,
and it's so much fun to see that, and
yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Before we end, I have a question, because I'm hearing a lot of enthusiasm from you guys, and with the latest investments from Accenture in this area. How is it to work with Accenture? How is it to be part of this dynamic team and change that you guys are doing?
I think it's super cool. To be honest, I think it's very fascinating and fun to be in a company that is in the forefront of this new revolution, and it makes me feel very comfortable that we are not just taking part of the future, we're actually building and shaping and framing the future, and I as an employee can be a part of that, and it's just amazing. It also makes me feel like secure. I'm in a company that wants to be in the forefront and be competitive towards other companies. So I think it's just so cool, but of course there's like new things popping up every day, so it's very hard to always also stick with everything that's happening, but it's a very cool and very interesting time to work, and especially working at Accenture, I think.
And I mean, come on, it's amazing. GenAI in general, it's super fun to work with. But I mean, so we are very lucky because we work with the best companies in the Nordics, and we really help them to grow their GenAI skill set, which is essential for them being competitive. So it's not just that it's fun and good for Accenture, right? It's I can really feel when I'm coming home at night that I'm doing something for Sweden, I'm doing something for the Nordics, just making sure that our really good companies stay competitive. But it's like I said, I really love the cross-functional part, because you work with people from all different parts of Accenture, from extremely good designers who has a background in commercials to like these PhDs in data science, and you work with the companies here in the Nordics, and then you also connect with people on a global basis, and it's very, very dynamic. And then one thing that I find as a really personal favorite with this new thing is that a lot of time it's easier to take like graduates or something. Mm-hmm. Because they don't know how data should be handled in the same way as right. more we who know what's not possible. So sometimes it's just easier to just, okay, here is what you have, do something, and they can do wonders in just a couple of weeks, and it's such a cool thing, and I really love seeing that, like like you, Julia, when you all of a sudden can add LLM Gen AI thing into a ServiceNow flow. and just bring huge. I mean, it's a big business impact, right? And also fun. And I love to see that. It's very exciting. I would say that I haven't had as much fun in my whole career, and I'm pretty sure that I'm in the right place.
Yeah, I can just agree with that. I think every day I go to work and I'm excited on what will I do today? What will I learn today? What will be the challenges? And then I come home and I'm like, okay, yeah, this was a crazy day again.
Yeah, and we always, I think most people working with GenAI right now sleeps very well at night because it's so much is happening. So it's a bit like a very long marathon where new stuff is happening on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's never a calm day in the GenAI landscape.
Yes. Exciting, guys, and we are looking forward to see you and to hear more on during the Data Innovation Summit this year. For everybody watching, so join us on Data Innovation Summit, and we look forward, Julia and Mattias, to see you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been fun.